Miranda. I work here at the shelter. So I'm going to be going over the afternoon shift today. So the most important thing is just kind of looking at the board, checking in with the volunteer notes. Some of the more important things to look at would be short walks. So that's typically when an animal's having a medical issue or they just got spayed or neutered. That's typically when they're on the short walks.
What would a short walk be?
Yeah, so really it would be depending on the medical issue. If it's, something more severe, we just take them right out to the front and keep them right in that front area. If it's like a spay or neuter, it would be more to the rock and back.
Okay.
And
when we do the dog walking video, we'll go more into that.
Show it. Okay. All right, and then another big thing would be the staff-only dogs. We have Loki here. Loki is on staff only because he just walked in the building and we haven't interacted with him much. So we just want to get an idea before, we pass him off to volunteers. Duke here has asked staff. With him, it's more of just he can be a little weary, so we just want to make sure to discuss that with volunteers before they head right in and put a leash around his neck.
Does that ask staff means that they should ask you to feed them also?
So typically, if it is,
am I getting ahead on my question?
Okay, that was a really good question. We will discuss that once we get to the feeding board. Just to end off the volunteer notes, it's always important to check with staff as things do change, daily throughout the day, and we can definitely remind you and let you know if anything has changed. So for feeding, these are the two feeding boards. We have the bigger one, which is cats, and then we have the dog feeding board. If it was a staff feed only, it would say it directly next to their name. Sometimes we will discuss where you're able to just put the guillotine door down and feed them on the opposite side, but we always do want you to check first before even doing that. Okay, let me catch my breath. All right, so taking a little bit of a closer look at the board, this side is adoption, so it's the adoption floor over there. And then we have receiving, and that is the room over there. So it will say the exact food that they're eating. A lot of the dogs come in and they're just on our typical regular food. So when it is regular, it's this one right here. This is adult dog.
What is the typical food? Like you say the typical food,
like
what
the
is
brand.
it? Yeah.
So it's Science Diet. It's the Hills Adult 1 through 6. And that's exactly, what they get sent home with as well.
And that's what's in that's what's in the dog.
That is in here.
And that's the adult one. And it
yes.
says it right on top, right?
No.
Well, that one says dogs, but the one you're gonna show next,
yes.
I believe.
Which this one is puppy. We don't have any puppies currently, but if we did, that's where this is. This one's labeled. And then sometimes we do get dogs that have different diet needs. So right now we have King, who is in adoption, and he has the sensitive skin and stomach, and he's on that wet and dry. We will always place it up here. Sometimes it's a little difficult to find, so you can always reach out to a staff member, and we'll point you in the right direction. But there's this is his dry food, and it's labeled King. And then this is his wet food, which is on there as well. And then we get some smaller dogs sometimes that don't always love the food that we're giving. So we'll get, food that they would enjoy more. So this is what Nipsey's on, and it's small bites. So it's labeled the same as on the board.
And it looks like everything is pretty much labeled.
Yes.
Okay.
And if it's not, you can let one of us know, and we'll label it.
Okay. So do you want to show show a quick sample of how you would do it?
Oh yeah. So
and again, this is the afternoon shift because in the afternoon shift the volunteers feed, but in the morning the staff feeds.
Yes. So for bowls, all of our bowls are up here. Usually for, the larger size, medium sized dogs, we do just like a regular bowl. For the smaller dogs, we usually do a little bit of a smaller bowl. I wouldn't go any smaller than this unless they're like super tiny. But that is the bowls we use. And then, for example, I'm going to do Luna's food. So she has a cup and a half. So we just do 1 cup and then about a half here.
And I mean, the cup is usually in there.
Yes, and the cup is always in there.
And if it's not in there, where would they find one?
Yes, so if it's not in there, we usually do have some cups laying around. Maybe I should. So if there's not a cup in, whatever you're using, you can just take a cup from, the dog bin. There's always either a cup in there or the puppy bin, and they can definitely be used for different foods. So continuing Luna's food, she is not on anything specific, so I always want to, double check and make sure. So she can basically eat whatever. Here, and then I'm just going to grab a spoon. So usually our spoons and forks are kind of kept over here.
And now I notice on the board it only says 1/2 cup of regular for Luna.
Gotcha.
But you're adding wet food.
Yes.
Does all the dogs get wet food also?
Yes. So everybody will get wet unless it specifically says that they are not going to get wet. So yes, everyone will get wet food with their dry. Let's see here. So usually there's no specific amount. I usually just add like a good scoop in there, make it tasty.
Yeah, I mean it's a little bit of a variety, and
Yes.
why wouldn't they be able to get wet food and dry food?
Exactly. So, and then we do add a little bit of water into the bowl as well. So
Now, when you say a little bit of water, do you mean like a 1/2 cup, or just like?
So I definitely would do a little less than a 1/2
Okay.
cup. I would just do
Because you kind of want to make it like more of a.
gravy than soup. Especially, I think a lot of times when it's super soupy, it deters the dog from even touching or eating it. A lot of times when it's too soupy, it actually deters the dogs from even eating it or touching it. So I just want to, I don't know why. Alright, and the reason we don't want it to be soupy is because a lot of times it does deter the dogs from eating it. So here I usually use just enough to kind of cover the food, but not leave like a giant puddle on the bottom. So something like this.
Perfect. Great. That looks yummy.
Is that good?
Yeah, and because it's like they already have a water dish, so why do they need water?
Yeah, exactly.
It makes perfect sense.
All right.
And where did you get that cup from?
So that was right here. So you can just pull it right out, add some water.
And I know this sounds like a weird question, but would we, as a volunteer, would you use hot water or cold water?
I use hot.
Okay.
Is that preference?
I don't know. I'm asking the question. When I feed my dogs, I do water my dog's food, I do hot water too.
Yeah.
No, I think it's great.
Does it matter?
Nope, I don't think so. It's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so now that I'm finished with preparing the food, we'll usually take one of these, which is like the canned toppers, and just make sure that seals that, and then throw it up top just so it stays fresh for the next time someone's preparing food. Once the food is all set, you can kind of see here, Luna's actually on meds as well. So once you prepare all the food, I would just check with staff. Sometimes animals are prescribed medication throughout the day, and we don't get the chance to update it on the board. So as soon as you're done with food, I would just go and double check with staff and just ask if any dogs are on any medications.
And is it a good idea to make all the food and then ask the staff? So like, I know like you're only doing one because you're
Yes.
showing an example, but
Yes.
normally they could set it up so
Yes.
all the food is set.
Yes.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah. It's better to have everything set up that way. Once the meds get put in, you can mix it, and then just go on and feed all the dogs.
Because you wouldn't feed one dog at a time.
Exactly.
You would want to
Exactly.
feed them all at once.
Yes. Yes.
Perfect.
Okay. Now, all right. So now onto the cat board. So these are all the names of the cats, and then. So these little letters in the notes section are actually where they're located, and there's a little guide here as well. So E is exam, O is overflow, and then A is adoption, and then we have this different section for the lounge. Typically, when we have more than one cat in the lounge, sometimes we'll have quite a few kittens. We do always put the number of cats that are in the lounge.
Okay, so sorry to interrupt, but if you're doing the cat lounge and say there's kittens in there and cats in there,
Mm-hmm.
do you have to put in adult cat food and kitten food, or would you just put in all kitten food? I mean,
Yes.
are they gonna know which food is which?
No, so they happen to not know which. So when putting food out in the lounge and it's kittens and adult cats, usually what we would do is we would mix both foods, because if you do keep them separated, they're obviously not going to know which one to go to. So with the dry
Well, when you say mix, do you mean mix like a couple of bowls of kitten food and a couple of bowls of adult food, or would you
So
just mix it all in the same bowls?
Mix them all in the same bowl. So you can do like a big bowl and do like half kitten, half adult. So the kitten's here. Wait, did you already explain that? So in the afternoons, we're only giving cats wet food. So if the lounge is, majority kittens, say there's like 10 kittens, 2 adults, it's the safer bet to just go with all kitten food. So you can find the kitten food right up here. Each animal, or each cat in this instance, gets half a can. So if there's, 10 cats, they're going to get about 5 cans total. And that can be kind of sorted out in... Hold on. So for the bowls for about 10 cats is about 5 dishes. And then going back to the board, so typically they all will have notes. So the kittens are labeled with kitten, so they'll specifically get the kitten food, which this is labeled as well. So kitten and then adult. Let's see here. So Blackberry and Sophie, because they're 2 kittens, they're gonna get half a can each. So 2 separate bowls with half a can in each bowl. Then moving on to Panda, he doesn't have any notes, so he's just an adult cat. He gets the regular amount, which is also half a can. It would just be adult food instead of kitten food.
Oh.
Next, there are like specific things like Mittens. Mittens, because she only has the dry labeled. I kind of want to change that to only dry.
Well, and you see, like, it says, like, the special food. So
Yes.
So the cat board is like the dog board. It's like you have to just pay attention to the notes.
Yes, correct.
And pay attention, and the same thing with the meds. So if the cats if it says meds, then like this one says, that says AM, PM, but do they always say that, or are there some
so there will be some cats that just get medication at night, so it will just specifically say meds PM. And then, hold on. What I was thinking was, I kind of wish I said... Okay, so outside of the lounge, all the cats are listed on here. And again, just to reiterate, so it does show exactly where they are. And then there are some special cases where they're in certain rooms, and the rooms are labeled as well. So Kim's office, that's where Mittens is. And then Toby, he's in overflow, but he's actually in one of the back kennels. So it gives a little bit more of an idea of where they are.
And what does that, what is it, on the mittens it says only dry labeled. What the heck does that mean?
Yes. So each cat is going to get, if there's nothing listed, they're just going to get your typical adult cat food, which again is over here. So they'll get half a can of the smaller one if you're doing like the smaller ones.
And this is an adult cat.
Yes, under the adult food. And then if you're picking up, a larger can, which sometimes it's easier when we have a lot of cats and it's easier to grab, less cans, they would get a quarter of the larger cans here.
And again, this is just the afternoon feeding. So
Yes,
the afternoon
it's the
feeding, they get if it's a bigger can, the adult cat gets the eighth. And if it's
Yes.
a smaller can, they get half.
Yes, correct.
And no dry food,
Did you
just
say
the
an
wet
eighth?
food. I don't mean an eighth, I mean a fourth.
Okay.
A fourth,
right.
a fourth of the
Yes.
of the bigger can and a half of the smaller can.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And then circling back to your question, so mittens, this is very similar to what we discussed on the dog board and how they have specific needs. So mittens, she's gonna only do the dry labeled food, which is a prescription diet food. So she's right here, she's getting the weight loss food, and it is labeled mittens, so she'll just get the typical amount of this food.
And what if, sorry to interrupt, and what
yes.
if you can't find that prescription food?
Yes.
What
If
would
you
who would you
cannot-
ask?
You would just go right to staff, ask them where the specific cat that you're looking for in their food.
Well, especially if the bag is empty, the staff would know.
Yes. If the bag is empty, just let a staff member know. Sometimes we know exactly where it is, so we can get it really quick.
Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. All right, and then same with Toby here. He's on the ZD dry only, and his is labeled right next to mittens. This is usually where it is, but again, if it's not there, you've looked and you can't find it, just ask a staff member. Next, so pretty much the same as dogs here as well. What you'll do is kind of lay out all the bowls. Usually what we do is we'll just count how many cats we have on the board. Say there's like 25, we'll get what? Staff only? Okay. So, and then we do have this staff only portion. So there are a lot of different reasons that cats will be on staff only. And what do we just want to say not to? Alright, so usually when it's time to feed the cat, so what we do is we'll usually count every single one of them, including the lounge. So say there's 25, what we'll do is we'll put out 25 bowls and just put food in each. When it comes to cats with meds or staff-only cats, so with staff-only cats, it's only the staff that's going to be interacting with that cat. Unless we, tell you otherwise, but those should only be handled by the staff. So with the staff only or the cats that need meds, you can prepare them but leave them to the side, and staff will either put meds or give the cat that's staff only their portion. So when placing food into their kennels, it's really important to just kind of look in their kennel and make sure, that their water is full, that they have water in there available for them, that their portal is open so they can use the litter box. And then obviously, if anything...
He's cute.
He is really cute. If there's throw up or anything like that, just kind of spot clean it just to make them, more comfortable.
Because the deep cleaning is done in the morning.
Yes.
But you don't you don't want the cat to have to sit in there with
Exactly.
throw up all night.
Yeah. All right.
I think that's it
Yeah.
for the cats.
Yes, I believe so.